Everybody, Scott Beason Radio, second quarter. I guess it's election eve, the day before the end of time. The apocalypse comes tomorrow, apparently. If you watch cable news, nothing else in the world matters. We're on the brink of being attacked by a bunch of crazy folks in North Korea. But who cares about that? That's not a real threat, because the biggest threat to the country is whether or not the people of Alabama elect Roy Moore. I have said over and over and over, this election is not about Roy Moore versus Doug Jones. The Democrat Party can spend $250,000 a day, whatever it is. And let me just tell you, I have never seen in this state a get-out-the-vote effort, a digging down, turning over every rock, looking in every cubbyhole, knocking on every door. I've heard stories of people who've had cell phones for years and years and years, and they get calls to the person who owned the phone 5 years ago because that person was on the list as a Democrat. Yeah, they're digging down to 5-year-old phone numbers trying to find people. It's unbelievable. Are you on a list somewhere as a Democrat, Big Dave? They're even going out to you. Now, Chris was telling me that earlier in the program that people were saying this is going to be a very low turnout.
Yeah, it's a low turnout, and it's for a lot of reasons. Because, like, what you're saying is the argument for, listen, we got to win this thing. If we don't get 52, it's going to have this huge negative effect. My view of it is that voting for Roy Moore would be a really bad idea for our brand, especially if this stuff actually turns out to be true.
Because the people in Oklahoma will all rally to the Democrats because Alabama voted for Roy Moore, right?
Well, I don't want the Republican Party to be the party of, hey, we back people that are accused of molesting children.
But we don't know that.
But we will know.
But it's not true.
But we'll find out in a few months. And what if it's worse than what's been leaked to the press? That's my biggest fear.
What if he was a body snatcher and was an alien? It would be even worse. Let me go to the phones. Adam, welcome to the program. Thanks for calling from Decatur. Adam, do you think a lot of those people were establishment folks before, probably always against Roy Moore? Maybe they were for Luther and were looking for a way to get out?
Yeah, but here's the problem. That's
a good point, Adam. Hold on, one more thing. We're gonna go back to it. But I also wonder how many of these folks were all for Jeb Bush. And don't forget, a number of these folks nationally told us that we needed to elect Hillary Clinton. Remember? That was their advice, Adam. Thanks, brother. Appreciate the call.
Let me just briefly say
that this should be the establishment side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I work at Heritage Foundation. Definitely not establishment, but I hate that. But listen, a few weeks ago, he said he knew these women. He said he may have taken them out on dates. 2 weeks later, from a church pulpit, he said, I don't know any of these women.
But he was talking about the people who were saying he did something wrong to him. There's no crime of going out with an 18 or 19-year-old. I'm not saying that's a good thing. But y'all are parsing these words.
I promise it's not parsing. It's like he said one thing on camera, and it is the opposite. And if you look word for word of video, he lied. Like, if I'm wrong, he'd sue me for libel. But I can prove 100% that he lied. He changed his statement.
There is a difference with somebody is talking about some of the allegations at the caliber they are, and you say, I don't know these people. You can't come along as a third party and go, see, he's talking about all of them, or he's talking about some of them, or whatever. He has said emphatically over and over and over that he did never attack any woman, boy, girl, animal, goat, any of that kind of stuff. And then that's just the facts.
Well, the facts are, it's on camera. Everybody can go watch it. This is provably true. No. He said, I knew some of these women. I may have taken them out on a date. He then said, I didn't take them out on any date. I didn't even know.
You don't see any possibility. I don't remember the part where I
will send you the transcript.
Brian, welcome to the program. Now, just give me one, Brian. Yes, sir.
All right, let's get that.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate you, buddy. I know exactly what you're saying. The ads are crazy. I want to bring my next guest in who's been waiting patiently. It's Ben Kamisar. Do I say that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Ben Kamisar from The Hill is actually in studio. Came down from, are you usually stationed in D.C.?
Stationed in D.C., came down to Birmingham, not driving to...
They won't, you haven't asked them to be transferred to like the Birmingham branch of The Hill?
What I've ate as well in the past couple of days as I have my entire life.
We have good food here.
Great food here.
So when you go back, and The Hill writes this condescending article about the state of Alabama, and we all have diabetes and why we're overweight, it's not because we're eating Twinkies. We eat well down here.
That's
really
not,
good
that's not
food.
Our style, but I would be in trouble if I lived down here, I think.
Yeah, well, all of us struggle. Every year, the first year, we all swear we're going to lose weight and get in shape, but then somebody cooks a great big meal and for New Year's, and then we're shot right off the bat. But Ben has been gracious enough to join us on the program, and what some of these folks were talking about right off the start are some of the ads that are running for Doug Jones. You've been covering both campaigns. I think you were at a couple of Doug Jones events yesterday. Is that right?
Yes, I was. He was with Senator Cory Booker from New Jersey, and
so Cory Booker from New Jersey was in Alabama yesterday, right?
Yeah, the two of them, and then Terry Sewell, the congresswoman.
Yes, and I like Terry.
Too. So it was the three of them kind of barnstorming churches, and then they did a couple events
right.
down in Birmingham.
Now I go to what people would argue is a very conservative church, and my church has not said anything about the election. This is one of those interesting things where some churches avoid any discussion of politics like the plague. Other churches, and I'm not mad at them because I frankly think churches should be able to say what they want to say. But
I agree.
Cory Booker, now Chris told me a great thing about Cory Booker and I had forgotten about. Cory Booker has been advocating for the impeachment of President Trump. He's down in the state of Alabama supporting Doug Jones, but Republicans are supposed to go write someone in order to help Doug Jones get elected, so I guess arguably he can help Cory Booker impeach the president.
So, I mean, at this point, I feel like it's all, and this is, the tired thing is, it's all about turnout, Right. But in a race like this, in these final days, it feels like most people have made up their minds, and it's really just about trying to rally people up. So if you're, the people that are going to be turned off by Cory Booker coming into town, they probably weren't going to vote for
They probably were already there already.
Yeah, exactly. And then the flip side being, they really need to turn out the black vote. They really need to turn out their base, people who might agree with him, Cory Booker, on the president. So I think when you have Booker coming into town, it's a signal that the people on our right of this are not going to listen to us. So we need to kind of just focus straight on our left and see how that works.
And see if they can turn out the people. They have been doing a monumental task. I would love to see what the absentee vote. Well, we'll see in a couple of days. We'll see tonight.
500% higher than the last election, which we've got the numbers on. Now, why do you...
Where are those places? Where are they coming from? Where are those votes?
I believe it's Secretary of State.
No. What parts of the state? So that we can kind of tell who they're voting for.
Well, to be fair, last election was uncontested. A Democrat didn't even run someone against Sessions, so that high number may not mean anything given that specific issue, but it is interesting. Mm-hmm. Now, what I want to ask Ben is, why do you think the conservatives like Ted Cruz and Jeff Sessions and Mike Lee, why are they so adamant for not voting for Roy Mayer? Is there something about them that they're not conservative enough? Why do they tend to go a different way than Alabama conservatives?
You mean about whether or not they support Roy Mayer?
Yeah, because they didn't come out and say, go write somebody in. I don't think Cruz did he?
No, I think Cruz, as far as Cruz pulled and Mike Lee, they pulled their names off of some fundraising mailers, but I don't think they've gone out as far. I mean,
they're not out on that limb like Richard Shelby is.
No, I don't think they're not on the Shelby limb. I think, those are guys who, they kind of have to walk a real thin line here because they have national ambitions.
Yeah, and they don't know. They don't know for sure. And we have said on this program, Ben, that if you want to know for sure, if you want to know the truth, you have to elect Roy Moore. Because if he loses and goes away, you'll never know. But if he wins, people are going to try to figure out what the truth is, and then we may actually get to the bottom of it. I do find it interesting that Gloria Allred comes out, Friday, I think during your program, maybe it was Friday during when you were filling in for me, Chris, and says, hey, look, our lady probably did write some of this stuff in, but the rest of it, but I think Ben makes a good point. We're not going to convince anybody to vote one way or another at this point. And Chris and I would argue and would get all fired up about it, and we agree 95% of the time, which is a win for both of us. But turnout is what is going to make a difference, which is why I think you're seeing these polls. Fox News comes out and says Doug Jones by 10. I've seen Doug Jones on Fox News probably as many times as maybe more than I've seen Roy Moore on in the last week, which I don't think is an accident. Fox News has very conservative commentators in the evening, but as far as just regular what they're getting out all the time, it's not what it was a year ago.
No, they definitely changed it up a little bit, and it is just interesting to look at their coverage and look at CNN and MSNBC. And so what's your take, Ben? Like, what do you think nationally? What are they thinking about this race as far as the conservative Republicans in D.C.? What's your take from somebody that lives there and talks to these people every day?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think, most of the sort of your moderate establishment Republicans, which there are far more of them in D.C. than there are the more conservative Republicans, they're the ones that are frankly concerned about this. They're the ones that, behind closed doors, are the ones that are kind of sounding the alarms and saying, in their mind, it's not necessarily, the truth or they don't know the answer either. They're not necessarily condemning him by saying this, but in their mind, they're concerned that a vote for more, and this is their words, not mine, but in their mind, sort of then it becomes this albatross that they can hang, or moderate Republicans can hang, or Democrats can hang, or the media, if you want to kind of take that slant that it hurts us as journalists, but that can be hung around their neck as the face of the Republican Party. I think that's what they're most concerned about.
Yeah, it's the perception thing, and I always heard that when we were in Montgomery. I used to serve in the Alabama legislature, and there was always something about, but if we're too pro-life, it's going to look bad. If we're too, if we're against illegal immigration, it's going to look bad. There was always this albatross, was always the specter out there. If you go there, it's going to be bad. If you go there, we'll never win another election. If you go there, we'll lose our majorities. If you go there, and it's just a tool that's been used over and over and over and over again. I don't see the long-lasting effect, but I could be wrong. I was wrong about the snow in the state. We got to take a break. We'll be right back.